Oh, Robert De Niro.
Yeah.
Now, Kurt's convinced that Robert De Niro's on some kind of Epstein list or some kind of thing like that, and then he's afraid that if Trump does get power, he's going to expose him, and he is actually going to come at him.
Of course Kurt thinks that.
That's what Kurt thinks that.
Kurt thinks that about every thing that happens in the world.
I think that Robert De Niro's just got Trump derangement syndrome.
I think he's old, too. There's a thing about old men.
And
they want to yell at everybody.
And he's completely... Did you see when he went and gave that speech outside of the trial? That was bizarre.
Told him that was a good idea.
And then he starts...
Have you ever seen a celebrity completely unravel before your eyes, losing every ounce of the mystique that made them legendary? Robert De Niro, the man who once commanded silence with a stare and delivered chilling lines with understated power, has become almost unrecognizable in his recent public appearances. His furious outbursts, particularly aimed at former President Donald Trump, haven't just sparked debate. They've ignited an absolute media firestorm, forcing an unexpected reckoning led by two of the most incisive voices in media today, Joe Rogan and Megyn Kelly. What truly happened to the titan of cinema who defined an era of filmmaking? And why did his political rant spectacularly backfire, leaving him exposed and seemingly unhinged on the global stage, making millions wonder if he's finally lost his mind?
What about the garbage outside today? Robert De Niro, officially sent by the Biden campaign, makes himself look like an idiot and reminds us why Trump is so popular.
It's so stupid. It was colossally stupid. If you're going to send somebody to go speak outside of the Trump trial, make it someone who's universally beloved, like a Michelle Obama. You know, she's not universally loved. She's not loved on the right. But I'm saying, like, at least within the left and the center left, and maybe even some center righties. Robert De Niro has gone so hard partisan over the past 8 years. He is like example number one of Trump derangement syndrome.
Yelling at regular people. He's like, fuck you, you're a gangster. Go fuck you. Like,
it's crazy that that's the guy
what?
from Taxi Driver.
Yeah.
You know what also I think those guys have no friends. I think the only friends they have are Hollywood phonies. And so you're in this weird world where everybody you talk to is a phony, and you become a phony, and everyone's a phony, and your grasp on reality is very slippery, and your eyes are going.
The bizarre spectacle unfolded not in a dimly lit cinematic underworld, but on a New York street curb, right outside a pivotal political trial. Robert De Niro, a man whose very name once evoked quiet intensity and simmering menace, stepped up to a podium officially sent there by a major political campaign. What followed was less a statesman's address and more an unbridled tirade, a visibly enraged performance where the veteran actor denounced Donald Trump with a fervor that startled many. He wasn't playing a character. This was raw, unfiltered, seething anger that seemed to boil over uncontrollably. The intent was clear: to sway public opinion, to unleash the full weight of a Hollywood icon's moral outrage upon a political adversary. But the reality was a disaster of colossal proportions. Instead of resonating with a universal appeal, De Niro's rant struck countless observers as colossally out of touch, cementing his image as the poster child for what critics quickly labeled Trump derangement syndrome. It was a moment that didn't just fall flat. It crashed, burned, and inadvertently amplified the very popularity he sought to diminish, serving as a powerful, unintentional advertisement for the opposition. The fundamental question wasn't just what he was saying, but why a Hollywood icon had descended into such an uncharacteristic, almost desperate public display, seemingly forgetting every lesson in PR and public relations he must have learned over decades.
You ever see old people's text messages? The fucking text on their phone is like as big as my hand.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And so your vision of the world is blurring, literally and figuratively, and then you're getting old, and when old people are tired and cranky, they just want everyone to listen to them, and they don't have time to have a calm conversation, and you state out your opinion, I'll state my opinion, let's see where we have common ground. Get off my lawn! And that's what he's doing. That's what he's doing. He's being this old grumpy man that is so lost that he thinks it's a good idea to stand in front of a bunch of people on the street and give a speech on camera about how bad Donald Trump is.
Robert De Niro has gone so hard partisan over the past 8 years. He is like example number one of Trump derangement syndrome. He's one of those, I'm moving to Canada if he wins, and he's never going to leave the White House if he wins. We're going to have Trump forevermore. I mean, hello, I hate to break it to you because I realize you're advanced age too, Robert, but people die. So he will leave. One way or the other, he's going to go. And in the not too distant future, even if Trump says he shouldn't have to. But in any event, He didn't do that the last time, Paul. Can you really picture a scenario in which Trump is more determined to hold on to power than he was at the last time in 2020, going into 2021? And what did he do ultimately? He left.
Into this maelstrom of confusion stepped Joe Rogan, the undisputed podcast king known for his unvarnished takes and an uncanny ability to dissect celebrity personas with surgical precision. Rogan didn't pull punches. He didn't even pause for a moment to consider if De Niro might have a legitimate point beneath the bluster. Instead, he approached the entire situation with a mixture of bewilderment and blunt honesty, seeing De Niro's performance as less political commentary and more a sobering symptom of an aging man losing his grip on reality. Rogan painted a vivid picture of an old man, tired and cranky, trapped in an echo chamber of Hollywood phonies, whose literal vision of the world was blurring, much like his figurative understanding of public sentiment. He likened De Niro's public fuming to watching someone angrily argue with a toaster. Dramatic, utterly unnecessary, and ultimately ending in nothing but burnt toast and deep regret. Rogan's critique wasn't partisan. It was the voice of a confused millennial, amplified by millions, asking, why is Robert De Niro shouting like this? Who, for God's sake, gave him a microphone, and why did they completely forget to include a sedative in the equation? He exposed the raw absurdity of the situation, reducing the once intimidating actor to a grumpy grandpa yelling nonsensically at clouds, genuinely baffled that someone so incredibly talented and historically revered would choose to spend their twilight years engaged in such a public, undignified spectacle, eroding decades of carefully cultivated gravitas in a single, frenzied outburst.
Why is he talking about this? Why is he talking about this publicly?
I'm going to say one thing. Trump.
If you're going to come out and say that you have a really deep-seated hatred for one of the two people running for president, you can't just be, he's a bully, he's a piece of shit, I hate him.
He's an idiot. Colin Powell said it best. He's a national disaster. He's an embarrassment to this country. It makes me so angry that this country has gotten to this point, that this fool, this bozo, has wound up where he has.
You probably, if you're going to express yourself about it and alienate 50% of the country, which it seems like it is, you're going to have to do better than that. You should have some specific things. Like he did some real estate deals with people in New York. Let me tell you what he did to people over.
I would love to hear it.
He did this and that. Let me tell you what he did that was fraud. He did this and
So Robert De Niro, who's got a severe case of the TDS, is in conference right now, as all of the muckety mucks are. And he's very unhappy about what Trump is doing to try to keep filmmaking, American filmmaking, in America by slapping tariffs on foreign-made films so that he can basically try to force people to make them domestically again for the American audience that they're meant to serve. And here's what De Niro said on Tuesday.
America's Philistine president has had himself appointed head of one of our premier cultural institutions. He has cut funding and support to the arts, humanities, and education. And now he has announced a 100% tariff on films produced outside the U.S. Let that sink in for a minute.
If Rogan delivered a raw, open-field tackle, Megyn Kelly's approach was a surgical strike of breathtaking precision. She didn't come equipped with protein shakes and sarcasm. She arrived with a metaphorical briefcase full of receipts, an aura of sharp intellect, and enough rhetorical precision to dismantle any pretense. Kelly viewed De Niro's public meltdowns not just as isolated incidents, but as a stark and troubling warning about what happens when actors profoundly forget the difference between a teleprompter, where lines are scripted, and a podium where raw, unscripted reality reigns. She meticulously peeled apart his celebrity activism with the predatory grace of a hawk circling a particularly confused mouse, highlighting his bizarre transformation from cinematic legend to a political hype. Man, a role no one asked for. Kelly meticulously connected De Niro's unhinged rage to specific perceived self-interests, such as his furious condemnation of proposed tariffs on foreign-made films, a policy that directly impacts Hollywood's global operations and, arguably, the bottom line of those within it. Her power lay in her almost unnervingly calm dissection. She didn't need to shout to expose the decay and hypocrisy. With a slight, almost imperceptible tilt of her head, she laid out De Niro's entire political persona on her commentary table. Like a failed experiment in celebrity activism, folding it with such ease it seemed like a wet napkin caught in a hurricane. For Kelly, the pivot from Hollywood icon to political blowhorn wasn't just awkward or ill-advised, it was hilariously avoidable, a self-inflicted wound, and she made sure every single viewer knew precisely why.
Robert De Niro, there's something about being a star where you think your opinion's more important than anybody else's, and you can go give a press conference, and he obviously has been very vocal from 2016 that he hates Trump for whatever reason. Maybe they have some personal thing.
You think Trump ever threw a punch himself or took one? This guy who ran and hid in the White House bunker when there were protesters outside? No way.
Now he's like holding press conferences. Now everyone's heckling him everywhere he goes.
That's so bad.
Like instead of just being this cranky old liberal, now you're this guy that is yelling at other people that are Trump supporters, and they're yelling at you. Like you've opened yourself up to this nonsense.
But De Niro doesn't want to play someone truly evil, you see. At least not a certain someone. Maybe Jimmy was a Democrat. By the way, De Niro is also very upset that Donald Trump is an alleged racist. Wonder if he pulled Jimmy Kimmel aside last night and asked him to atone for his blackface-loving past.
The powerful critiques from Rogan and Kelly didn't just focus on De Niro's individual actions. They implicitly exposed a much larger, more insidious problem that has permeated the upper echelons of the entertainment industry. The impenetrable Hollywood echo chamber. The narrative they painted suggested that a man like De Niro, surrounded almost exclusively by phony friends and a tightly curated circle of incredibly like-minded individuals, might inevitably lose his grasp on the raw, often uncomfortable reality of everyday people outside that insulated bubble. In this hermetically sealed world, every conversation, every interaction, every piece of media consumed seems designed to reinforce pre-existing biases, turning what might start as a nuanced political stance into an all-consuming, unbridled rage. This isn't just about Trump derangement syndrome as a political label. It's presented as a deeply troubling psychological phenomenon, a fundamentally distorted vision fueled by intellectual isolation and an alarming inability to process dissenting opinions or engage with perspectives outside their own. When you're a revered star, showered with accolades, and surrounded by sycophants, it becomes dangerously easy to mistakenly believe your opinion inherently holds more weight, that it somehow earns you the unassailable right to give impromptu press conferences and yell indiscriminately at anyone who dares to disagree. But De Niro's public outbursts, rather than projecting power, instead revealed a desperate emptiness, a figure unmoored from the complexities of reality and adrift in a vast sea of self-importance, a cautionary tale for anyone who believes their fame grants them infallible wisdom. It begs the agonizing question, who truly tells these titans of industry the difficult, unvarnished truths when their entire world is meticulously designed to validate their every thought, every feeling, every furious outburst?
Like you didn't think this through. Like this is, and he's getting yelled at. He's doing an outside press conference. Like, Robert, you're 80 years old. Don't ruin this thing. You've had this life where you were a fucking raging bull. You know, you were in The Godfather. Like, stop doing this. Man. Don't do this.
If Shakespeare were a cable news producer. To the people shouting him down like, your movies suck, that's not true.
No, his movies are very good.
Suck. He's one of the greatest actors. I mean, he's the heir apparent to Brando, blah, blah, blah. But he's a loon.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to just say what he is. He's, he has, basically, I describe this to people. You know what's happening now? Because people are aware about concussions and the problems with CTE. When you get hit and you get a dinger in football, they put you in the blue tent, in the sideline.
Yeah.
That's what needs to happen to Democrats. They need to go in the blue tent for a little bit, kind of, get your eyes checked, and then come out and be rational again.
Yeah, cool off
and
a
De
little.
Niro needs to go in the blue tent. I mean, because it's not calming things down. We need to be...
The most tragic and perhaps irreversible consequence of De Niro's relentless public rants is the profound and undeniable impact on his once unassailable legacy. The man who, for decades, brought complex, brooding silence to roles, who could convey entire volumes of emotion with a single intense expression, is now, regrettably, almost synonymous with shouting louder than a conspiracy theorist at Burning Man. He has gone from the disciplined mastery of method acting to the alarming spectacle of method yelling, and the performance he puts on now is so off-script it arguably needs not just subtitles, but an urgent wellness check. Rogan and Kelly, in their separate but converging critiques, made it brutally, painfully clear De Niro is rapidly becoming a parody of himself, a caricature of his former greatness. The most baffling part of this entire saga, no one in his inner circle, no one from the industry that once revered him, no longtime friend or discerning agent seems to possess the courage to pull him aside and gently or even forcefully say, "Bobby, buddy, for the love of God, maybe don't scream on national television again today. You're destroying everything." It's a celebrity implosion playing out in horrifyingly slow motion real time. A once towering figure now swinging like a cultural wrecking ball, but not against some oppressive machine. Rather, he's swinging wildly and destructively against his own enduring, iconic image, the mystique, the gravitas, the silent, terrifying power that captivated millions. It's all tragically dissolving in a haze of unhinged indignation, leaving behind a bewildered audience and a tarnished legacy.
What De Niro project needs friends as research?
Looking for cast. I don't know.
What De Niro projects are even around? I mean, well, De Niro's probably trying to figure out where all his money's going because he's getting divorced right now. So he's probably, he's getting divorced.
And here's the truly delicious, albeit profoundly uncomfortable irony in this entire unfolding drama. Neither Joe Rogan nor Megyn Kelly, nor indeed many in the broader public who consume this spectacle, genuinely want De Niro to stop. Oh no, that would utterly ruin the entertainment. Watching a man with more Oscars than functioning talking points spiral into a permanent grumpy grandpa routine is, for countless viewers, a captivating, if deeply cringe-worthy spectacle. It's like watching a viral video of a raccoon trying desperately and hilariously to steal a watermelon. You just can't for the life of you look away, despite the inherent awkwardness. Rogan, perhaps between discussing psychedelic trips and analyzing cage matches, almost seemed to genuinely pity De Niro, seeing him as someone desperately trying to use an ancient flip phone in a rapidly evolving world of advanced smartphones. Kelly, with her characteristic wit and sharp intellect, practically offered to send him a glossy retirement brochure complete with enticing suggestions for Palm Springs, a comfortable deck chair, and perhaps a stack of stimulating crossword puzzles, anything, literally anything, to stop him from hijacking every public event like a political foghorn afflicted with severe arthritis. It's crucial to understand that it's not De Niro's political views themselves that are the fundamental problem, nor is it the fact that he expresses them. It's that he has transformed their expression into a theatrical performance and auditioned for the role of angry guy who lost the plot, a role that, quite ironically, may be the most honest and unscripted casting of his recent career, sadly blurring the lines between the performer and the performance. Robert De Niro, once a towering figure of cinematic strength and impenetrable mystique, has found himself, in his twilight years, reduced to a public spectacle, parodied not by rival comedians on late-night television, but by serious commentators. Meticulously dissecting his very public unraveling, Rogan, with his every incredulous question, voiced the unspoken query on millions of minds. Is this really the hill De Niro wants to die on? Wearing a wrinkled suit, yelling furiously about politics, and making facial expressions that scream, "I've eaten too much prosciutto, and now I'm inexplicably angry at all of society." And Kelly, with her calm, disarming precision, didn't just ask the question, she began, in real time, writing the obituary for his public persona, framing his downfall as an inevitable, almost Shakespearean tragicomedy. The man who once mumbled profoundly impactful lines in Scorsese masterpieces, whose subtle nuances defined iconic characters, is now delivering rambling tirades that sound as if he completely forgot what the point was halfway through his own sentence. They didn't coordinate their attacks, they didn't high-five each other through split screens, but together, they inadvertently held up a giant, unflinching, sarcastic mirror to a man seemingly lost in his own rage. And Robert De Niro, caught firmly in the grip of his own self-destructive performance, clearly didn't like what he saw looking back. The real machine isn't the one De Niro rages so loudly against. It's the relentless, unforgiving force of public opinion, and it's currently busy replaying Rogan and Kelly's scathing takedowns on an endless viral loop. Sometimes the loudest voice in the room isn't powerful or persuasive, it's just loud, jarring, and profoundly off-key, and sometimes that echo bounces right back, accompanied by a signature Rogan laugh and a knowing Kelly smirk, signaling the undeniable end of an era for a legend who perhaps just held on too long, losing himself in the process.